Hi, I'm Charles with AniCap. The story begins as a group of warriors take on some kind of rock monster. This giant's face gets all sliced up by these warriors, as it is explained to us that all members of a party have various roles, such as attacker and healer. Our protagonist is different though. His name is Red and he is a tank. Red saves a girl named Nin from getting squashed, as it's the tank's job to draw all enemy attacks and protect the other members. Being a tank isn't the most glamorous position among powerful adventurers, but this is a story of how our boy Red changes all of that and becomes the protagonist. After the battle, Red imagines finally reuniting with his sister Manicia, who he had to leave for battle. Nin snaps him out of it before he embarrasses himself even further, but Red is upset that she interrupted him. She reminds him that they are at a guild, and everyone has been watching the weirdo because he was making weird faces. Nin wishes he would think more about her instead, but Red crushes her soul when he declines. Red gets real serious as he explains that he doesn't want to think about anything else since his little sister has an incurable disease, and his only hope is the secret treasure of the labyrinth that is said to grant any wish. This hope isn't looking too good now though, as Red thinks about how he failed everyone in the battle against the rock golem. Nin tells this absolute failure that he shouldn't feel bad at all since he did do his job. It just didn't make sense how fast his absorb shield was depleting even though he didn't get hit. Red reveals that it wasn't just that one instance. Recently, whenever they enter the labyrinth, his absorb shield's been depleting for some mysterious reason. He has had to consume a bunch of potions, so he apologizes for making things difficult for Nin as their healer. She once again tells him to stop apologizing since he always does a good job protecting her. Nin then glazes him up a bit by pointing out that his absorb shield has a value of 9,999, which makes it the highest value shield to ever exist. Just then, spectators marvel as the one they call the hero arrives. He is the one who has beaten numerous labyrinths despite being so young, but this guy is clearly very arrogant. Everyone practically drools over this guy as he is the hero known as Keegalis. He apologizes to Red for being late as Nin welcomes Lilia and Lily, who are standing way too close to each other. Keegalis introduces them to their new party members, but Nin is furious. She reminds Keegalis that only parties of up to 6 people are allowed to enter the labyrinth. The addition of the 2 new members would make their group 7. Keegalis has a real dark side as he reveals that their party will be down to 6 very soon, and kicks Red out of the party. Of course, Red demands to hear a reason, so Keegalis, the absolute jerk, tells him that it's because he's a useless tank. A look back to the golem fight shows that Red was shaking after blocking the monster's attack. Keegalis did the typical hero thing to defeat their opponent, but he was upset that Red instantly lost a significant portion of his shield. That was the final straw, as he determined that the party wouldn't be able to make any progress with Red as their tank. Nin is still furious and points out that Red was blocking the attacks, but for some mysterious reason his absorb shield was still depleting. Keegalis thinks it's because of the 2 skills Red has that have unknown effects. Nin tries to defend him, but Keegalis isn't interested in hearing excuses and reminds the little chick that they all could have lost their lives. The new members he found are better anyway. They are evasion tanks that have become very popular these days. Evasion tanks are able to fight while dodging enemy attacks, which is way better than Red, who can only defend. Keegalis kicks him out for good, so Red just accepts the decision. Keegalis is a serious jerk though, and stops Red from leaving just yet. He explains that they didn't make any money from the golem battle, so he will have to take something from him. Keegalis really rubs the failure in, as he tells Red that he is just an incompetent tank that wastes his absorb shield. Keegalis then leaves with Red's sword, while he laughs like an evil maniac. The conjoined twins know better as they thank Red and wish him luck. Red apologizes to Nin since she was the one that invited him to join her party, but he just wasn't good enough. Nin wonders if this is really goodbye, but Red tells her to come visit him in his hometown one day. He hopes that day will come soon, and Nin tears up at the kind words. She puts up a tough exterior though, and says that she won't miss him. Afterwards, Red thinks about what to do next as he can't go to his hometown yet. He wonders if Keegalis was right about Red's own skills chipping away at his absorb shield without him realizing. He wishes he could figure out what his mystery skills do, but adventurers with the identify skill are extremely rare. His depressing train of thought is interrupted when he hears a group questioning if they can handle an escort job with just the 3 of them. Our eavesdropping protagonist overhears that they are headed to Kuros, and his hometown is on the way. Red approaches them and we see just how big our boy is as he towers over the normal-sized humans. Red asks if he could join them and doesn't even need them to pay him. Even though our boy is clearly a giant, these dweebs wonder what rank he is. Rudd is actually only F rank, but it's because he has spent all his time in labyrinths. Rudd hesitates to answer, but one of the little people recognizes him from the hero party. This height-deficient group stops being so skeptical and now beg Rudd to join them. The old guy they will be escorting is glad to hear that they have a new member, but he has all his money tied up in crypto, so he can't pay them more money. As they begin traveling, Rudd feels bad for not telling them his rank, almost like he tricked them. If you really think about it, he could just tell them now, but he decides to just protect the wagon as best he can. Their little journey begins, and we see that their group endures a little battle. They also enjoy a meal, and even have some type of love story going on, as two of the short stocks make out in the woods. One foggy night, the old man wonders if they should rest soon. Rudd doesn't care how tired Grandpa is, and tells him that they are nearly at Kuros. He doesn't have a good feeling about something, so they will head straight there. Rudd determines that they will be fine as long as they watch out for ambushes, but he is shocked by something. He stops the wagon and tells the group to quiet down. Rudd goes alone to check if it's bandits, but when the fog clears, everyone is shocked to see that it's just a girl. Rudd doesn't sense anyone else nearby and determines that it isn't a trap, so he checks up on the girl. This girl is terrified for some reason, so Rudd tries to be nice to her. A gust of wind reveals that this girl has a gemstone embedded in her chest, but before Rudd can say anything, a monster appears. It's a giant forest snake, so the little gem girl runs for cover, and old Grandpa explains that the monster's poison is deadly. The others are apparently cowards, as they instantly give up without even trying. They are certain that their lives will end as the snake goes to attack them, but our boy Rudd uses his provoke ability to attract its attention. The thing spits its poison out at our protagonist, but he blocks it with his oversized shield. Some of the snake's extremely dangerous poison burns right through Rudd's clothes, but he tells the others not to worry. He has a skill that protects him from all status effects. Rudd tells the others to attack while he distracts the creature, but our boy really picked the wrong group of people to join as they have no clue where to even start. The snake decides to just knock everyone back, and Rudd slams into a tree. Rudd has a vision of his sister calling out to him though, and he wakes up. He refuses to let his life end here, and gives an inspiring speech to his lackluster group. Rudd points out that he doesn't have a sword right now, so it's up to them to cut the snake down. They still seem pretty lost, so Rudd talks to them like they are brain dead, and instructs them to grab their weapons and move their bodies. Rudd rushes the snake while commanding everyone to work together, and his teammates finally seem ready. Rudd declares that he is the strongest tank and proclaims that he will block all of the snake's attacks. All his team will have to do is believe in their own strength, and he guarantees they will win. Rudd has prepared the perfect moment for them to attack and instructs them to move in. The newly inspired group follows his orders and manage to kind of do something to the snake. The old man freaks out and points out the obvious. He states that the snake is preparing to land a final blow and they need to dodge it. The snake is going right for Rudd, but he determines that he cannot dodge the attack. It's more like he refuses to dodge though, as he knows that there is meaning in blocking the killing blow. Rudd then heroically blocks the snake, making the perfect opening for the others to follow up. They combine their power and even amaze themselves when they finally manage to defeat the giant snake. The group then acknowledges that they couldn't have done it themselves. Rudd is a pretty big guy himself, so he knows a thing or two about dealing with a giant snake, and he tells the others that what really mattered was that they worked together. He instructs them to carve up the snake while he goes to check on the mysterious gem girl. He finds that she was running from the snake, but she has nowhere to go. These two literally speak for like 10 seconds, but he offers to take her back to his hometown and she agrees. Rudd doesn't want Chris Hansen getting the wrong idea though, so he decides that she needs some clothes. Old Grandpa just happens to have clothing for little girls laying around and gives it to them as a thank you. Grandpa wonders if she is an escaped slave, and our boy can sense that she is a homunculus. Homunculi serve humans as slaves, so they normally don't travel alone, so there must be some mysterious circumstance behind why she is in the forest. Rudd points out that slave traders likely wouldn't enter such a dangerous forest, and she wasn't wearing a collar like all slaves in anime do. This girl is definitely a mystery, but Rudd decides to look after her for a while. The next day, Rudd leaves the others after reaching their destination, but the group wants him to join their party. They would be honored to adventure with a strong tank like him, but Rudd reveals that he needs to find the secret treasure. This group knows about it well, as this treasure is said to be able to grant any wish, and even has the ability to create homunculi. The little albino girl is shocked to hear this word, but this group doesn't know that she is one, and openly talk about how much they hate homunculi. They do some serious trash talking about how expressionless they are, and how they don't show any passion in what they do. What's even scarier about the homunculi is that the only way to visually distinguish them from humans is the magic stone on their chest. Red is the only one that seems to notice that the girl is upset about what they are saying, so he quiets them down and leaves. The little girl shows some relief, and they begin their own journey. Red introduces himself, but in typical anime fashion, this girl reveals that she doesn't have a name. Some Lunafia petals are flying around everywhere, so Red decides to call her Luna. Red fears that he might have offended her somehow, but she actually loves the name. That night, Luna spots some rabies-filled wolves and shocks Red when she springs into action to eliminate them all. This confirms what Red was already thinking. Luna must be an illegally created homunculus. This was made clear when she showed the will and emotions other homunculi lack. On top of that, she can even fight. Illegally created homunculi must be disposed of, but her frightened gaze reminds Red of his little sister. The little girl apologizes for ruining dinner, but Red says it's okay. More importantly, he wants to know why Luna didn't just destroy the forest snake, since she is clearly strong enough. Luna explains that she is skilled in magic, but she doesn't have a single melee skill. This is surprising to Red, and he determines that she must just be able to imitate the effects of skills. She goes over her list of spells, but he is shocked when he hears that she can use the Identify skill. Identify is a very rare skill. Only one other person in the neighboring kingdom has it, but that person was said to have passed away a few years ago. This means that as of right now, Luna's the only person in the world with the Identify skill. Red desperately wants to know about the two mysterious skills he has, so he asks her to use Identify on him. She does so and reveals that Red has 4 skills. One is called Healthy Body. It makes him immune to status effects, boosts his natural healing, and makes his body as tough as possible. The next is Provoke. It has the ability to focus an enemy's attention on him. Those are the 2 Red already knew about, so he prepares himself to hear the 2 unknown ones. One of these mystery skills is called Life Conversion. This allows him to convert the Absorb Shield that he has depleted into Strength. Red has the highest Absorb Shield value to ever exist, and now there is a way to use it offensively. Red couldn't use it before, so he determines that some skills can't be activated unless the person understands them. Red's final skill is called Shield of Sacrifice. This skill allows him to treat the Absorb Shield of his allies as his own. While protecting his allies, both his allies' toughness and his own increases. This means that while making them tougher, he can also take the damage of others. Things finally start to make sense, as Red realizes that he was taking damage without realizing it because he was using Shield of Sacrifice to protect his party members' Absorb Shields. Red lets out a laugh as he has been worrying about his unknown skills for the longest time, but he never thought it would be resolved this easily. Red thanks his new little friend, and she is glad she could be helpful. As they arrive at his hometown, Red thinks about the irony. He was kicked out of his party for having skills with unknown effects, but he actually had the ultimate skills for protecting his allies. Knowing this, he can return to his hometown with his head held high, and finally see his sister again. The moment our protagonist steps into town, he is greeted by a redhead that wants to hang out immediately. She is on her way to buy a hammer, and their friend named Philly is there on patrol. These 2 watch over his sister Manicia, so Red is glad that he can depend on them when he goes on adventures. Milena introduces herself to Luna as the town's blacksmith, but Luna is terrified. Philly explains that she works as a sub-leader for the town watch, but it's clear that she is just as shy as Luna. The group chats it up for a bit, and Luna finally gets comfortable around the silly bunch. At his house, the 2 are careful not to make too much noise, as his sister might be sleeping, but he's surprised when she appears to welcome him. Red explains that he will be taking care of the little albino girl, so Manicia tells her to make herself at home. Manicia goes to prepare an extra meal for Luna, but Red wants his sickly sister to rest. Manicia explains that she is feeling good today, so the 2 agree to cook together. Luna rudely points out that there is something clearly wrong with Manicia's hair, and Red explains that it's called physical idiosyncrasy. This means that Manicia's hair moves according to her emotions. Manicia seemed to know that Red was coming home, and it was because of her skill. Red is thankful that she made his favorite dish, and Luna points out that they are really close. They all sit to enjoy their meal, but Luna is some kind of barbarian, as she doesn't know how a spoon works. She goes overboard with her apology, and explains that she has only ever used a spoon a few times. A look back shows a glimpse of her slave days and her epic struggle to hold a spoon. Luna promises not to fail them again, but the two point out that she needs to stop being such a drama queen. Manicia gives her some pro tips on spoon using and tells her to take her time learning, as she will be teaching her one thing at a time. Red is glad to hear that, and Luna thanks her. A little montage shows them teaching her a bunch of stuff, and Luna surprises them one day by cooking an entire meal. The food is delicious, and Red is amazed that she has mastered every basic skill in such a short amount of time. This is a bit strange, so he wonders if it's because she is a homunculus. Manicia brings Luna a dress to change into, but Luna just rushes off with it awkwardly. Manicia can't figure out the little weirdo, but Red assumes that Luna was just worried about Manicia seeing the magic stone in her chest. While showing Luna around the town of Avancia, Red explains that they don't have a guild or a church, and its most remarkable feature is some little orchard. The red-headed girl's father wants Red to marry his daughter, but he declines, and instead Red asks him to make a replacement for the sword that was stolen from him. The blacksmith plans to have his daughter help him, and he suggests that Red show Luna the monstrous farm. Red does just that and explains that monstrous vegetables are plants that grow into monsters. They only need mana to grow, so they can be grown all year round. Some little nerds come to bug our hero, but some old lady tells the kids to go back to doing their child labor. Luna has some serious PTSD from her time as a slave, so she shakes uncontrollably. Instead of being worried about her, the old woman just wonders if she is Red's girlfriend. Red of course explains that they're just travel companions, and introduces Luna to the old lady, Grandma Gigi, the town's apothecary. She is the one that makes medicine for Manicia, but she wishes she could do more for Red's sister. Gigi asks Luna to help harvest some monster spinach, and some of Red's old friends arrive to help. They all have a grand old time, and our pair walks away with some weird vegetables for all the trouble. Red makes things a bit awkward by complimenting Luna, but he quickly changes the subject by having her try the vegetables. She thinks the giant tomatoes are delicious, and Red wonders what she thinks about his town. Luna really likes how nice everyone is there, and she would be extremely happy if she could stay there forever. Just then, Luna reminds him of the magic stone in her chest, and dramatically reveals that she is not human. She is a battle homunculus that was developed in a neighboring nation. Luna apologizes for not telling him sooner, and explains that she thought he would end her life if he knew she was a homunculus. She is grateful for how nice he has been, so she couldn't continue lying. Red reveals that he actually knew she was a homunculus this entire time, and Luna can't understand why he helped her. Red reveals that before coming to this town, he and his sister lived in the slums. Luna's eyes look just how like Manicia's did back then, so he couldn't just leave her. Red wonders if she would rather live as a homunculus or a human, but Luna believes she doesn't have a choice. Red points out that he has never heard about homunculi not being able to become human. Besides that, he enters labyrinths for a similar reason. He is searching for the secret treasure that may or may not exist in order to cure Manicia's illness. They are both chasing shadows, so he thinks that's the perfect reason for them to get along. Red's words pierce her homunculus heart, and she wishes to become human. The two agree to chase their goals together and happily shake on it. When they return home, Luna wants to reveal her secret to Manicia and explains to Red that she doesn't want to hide it from those she is close to. Luna just comes right out and tells her that she is a homunculus and apologizes for keeping it a secret. Manicia knew there was something off about the kid, but she still asks Luna to continue being friends with her. Luna of course accepts, and Manicia points out that Red must have known this whole time. Red helps those that no one else will, and he has always been that way. Sometime later, our duo finishes up cleaning the entire mansion, and everyone rushes to get a taste of Manicia's world-class tea. Luna points out to Red how popular his sister is, but Red is long gone, and on his way to get some tea. Red explains that being the first to drink the tea makes it taste even better, but Philly is there to point out that Red really does have an unhealthy obsession with all things involving his sister. Red wonders if Manicia is feeling okay after making the tea, but she just tells him that he worries too much. She may not be in great health, but she doesn't want to hold him back. Red explains that she has never once held him back, but he is interrupted when his boys ask him to duel. Red thinks this is actually perfect, and tells the others that he wants to duel Philly first. Outside, Red explains to her that he wants to test his previously unknown skills in a mock battle, and he picked her since he knows that he won't have to hold back against the town guard sub-leader. They agree that the one whose absorb shield is depleted more loses, and the fight begins. The two strangely don't move at all, and some guy points out that their fighting styles don't emphasize speed. The first to move is Philly, but Red blocks her attack. She continues her assault on his shield, and Red can tell that she has gotten much stronger since they last fought. Her attacks feel very heavy, so Red knows that if one of her strikes lands, he is a goner. Luna can't believe how strong Philly is, and Benicia explains that the town guard is really just a bunch of youngsters who didn't move to the city. Few of them are actually skilled fighters, but Philly and Red are special cases. She admits that they should be putting their skills to use in a bigger city. All the nerds in the crowd cheer for Philly to finally knock Red down for once, so Luna counters them by cheering for Red. Benicia joins her, but they just manage to distract him. Red gets scratched by the attack and decides to use his new ability to use the damage to his benefit. Things get a bit dicey when Red falls off balance, but he composes himself just in time to smash his shield right into Philly. She goes flying and is stunned when she realizes that his one blow took out her entire absorb shield. Everyone in the crowd is stunned to see that Red has finally learned an offensive skill, but can't understand how he was able to destroy Philly's absorb shield that has a value of 2500. Philly wants to know what that incredible skill he used was, and Red reveals that it's his life conversion skill. It allows him to convert depleted shield power into strength. He can't use it all the time, but their little battle showed him that it's very powerful. Red thinks about how until now, he has always focused on defending as a tank. However, going forward, and thanks to his life conversion skill, he will also be able to do some attacking. Red is ready to take on all challengers, but all the cowards watching conveniently remember that they have other things to do. The girls admire how strong Red is, but Benicia can't help but compare herself to him. A look back shows that their parents abandoned Benicia and planned to only raise Red. They dragged Red away, and from how sickly Benicia appeared, it was clear that she wouldn't last much longer. However, Red would return to rescue her. Benicia wakes up from the memory dream and thinks about how Red has always come to save her in the end. Of course, she must wonder if her brother is actually happy though, and questions if he would be living more freely if it wasn't for her. The next morning, Luna wakes up with some serious bedhead, and she points out that her two new friends have taught her so much. Red explains that when he and Luna were younger and living in the slums, there was an effort by the nobles to return abandoned kids like them to a proper life. They were able to attend night school because of it, but Benicia doesn't have fond memories from school. Red was always an exceptional student, so everyone expected him to become a knight. However, students would gossip about how Benicia was holding him back. Red became an adventurer to cure her disease, but everyone felt bad for Red for not being able to just do what he wants. Luna senses that something is wrong with Benicia, but she doesn't know how to act like a human and can't console her properly. Benicia asks her for advice though, since she doesn't know what to do about Red throwing his life away for her. Luna has no clue how to answer and explains that she actually has a real problem since she doesn't have anyone in her life that would do that for her. Luna suggests that she just talk to Red, but Benicia doesn't even know how to interact with him. She doesn't think it's right to rely on him so much, so she keeps as much distance between them as possible. Luna suggests that she just tell him everything, but Benicia freaks out as Red has returned home. Luna assures her that it will be fine, but Benicia loses her nerve as soon as she tells Red that she wants to talk to him. She fears that deep down, Red might regret saving her, but Luna assures her again. Benicia just comes right out and asks Red why he saved her, and she is shocked when he reveals that it's because she saved him once. Red explains that the kids always used to be terrified of him because he was so much bigger than them. Benicia was different though, and treated him like he wasn't a giant freak. Red explains that he is happiest when he is around Benicia, and she breaks down in tears. Benicia apologizes for doubting him, and the two thank Luna for her part in solving their family problems. Luna doesn't know how to handle praise, so she runs off to start cooking. Just then, Red is annoyed that someone would dare interrupt this blissful moment as they hear a knock on the door. It's surprisingly Nin, and she reveals that she isn't part of the hero party anymore. After Red left, they kept failing to clear dungeons, so the party disbanded. A look at one of their battles showed that their party was a complete mess. Keeglis couldn't figure out why they had become so weak, and he realized that the only difference is that they didn't have Red anymore. Keeglis realized that his special attacks cost way more of his absorb shield than it did before. On top of that, his skills have gotten much weaker, and his shields have been depleting faster after Red left. Keeglis refused to believe that he was wrong for kicking Red out, and forced everyone to continue fighting in the dungeon. They were taking too long to defeat monsters, causing new ones to spawn at the same time, so the others didn't want to continue fighting. Keeglis refused to give up, but his abilities eventually stopped activating. Keeglis finally felt what it was like to lose his entire shield from an attack, and it hurt way more than he thought it would. Terrified out of his mind, Keeglis ran from a monster, but without his shield, this monster broke several bones in his body with a single attack. Keeglis practically wet himself in the face of death, but his party managed to get him out of danger. His reputation was tarnished, however, and he blamed their new evasion tanks for their failure. The twins stick up for them though, and point out that Keeglis was just recklessly rushing in. These girls are ruthless as they point out that he hasn't trained in a while, and his body has become scrawny and unhealthy from drinking all the time. Nin piles on as well, since she just noticed that Keeglis just realized how his ability actually works. His Life Burst attack enhances his physical abilities at the cost of a major chunk of his absorb shield. The time Rudd lost his entire shield came right after Keeglis unleashed the biggest Life Burst he had ever cast. Nin determined that Rudd's skill must have allowed him to treat other shields as his own. So Keeglis was actually just pushing the cost of his attack onto Rudd. Rudd's shield value was 9,999, which is the reason Keeglis seems so strong. Keeglis refuses to believe any of it as he calls himself the hero, but everyone just leaves this nerd. Nin now apologizes since she didn't know that Rudd was tanking the damage that her shields were taking. Rudd apologizes for not figuring out his own skill sooner, but he is shocked to see how fast Nin is ready to move on. Nin introduces herself to the others, but stuns our boy when she reveals that she will be staying for a while. Nin thinks he doesn't want her there, but he just explains that all the inns are full. Manisha offers to let her stay there, but Rudd explains that Nin is the daughter of a duke. She is a noble saint, but Nin explains that she would love to stay there. Rudd lets her stay in his room while he sleeps downstairs, but Nin has other ideas. Rudd declines and Philly arrives at the front door in a panic. She reveals that a monster she has never seen before has appeared in the orchard and begs him to come help. They arrive to find the beast, but they can't tell what it is because of the miasma surrounding it. Nin purges the miasma, and it reveals that this creature is unlike anything Rudd has ever encountered. It's as if its magic essence has taken over its sense of self. Just then, Philly's dad arrives to attack the beast, but he fails. The monster tries to end all their lives, but Rudd quickly uses his provoke ability to take the aggro. He instructs the others to cast healing spells on him, and Rudd does his best to fend off the monster. Rudd is drawing all of its damage, so he tells the soldiers to attack. The monster just throws them around, but Rudd tanks all the damage for them. Nin and Luna heal him up, so he praises them and tells the soldiers not to hold back. He explains to them that his Shield of Sacrifice skill lets him tank the damage dealt to their absorb shields, so they are shocked that they can just charge in without worrying about taking damage. It's the ultimate tank ability, so they all attack confidently. The monster has no choice but to run, but Rudd tells the others to stop it as it's heading towards the town. Luna summons a wall to stop it, and Rudd decides that it's time to end the fight. He pours the 20,000 points of damage he has taken so far into one attack, and unleashes an insanely powerful blast. Rudd's attack causes way more damage than the monster, and he wonders if he went a bit overboard. Everyone still praises him, however, as they manage to avoid having any casualties. Strangely, this was a C rank wolf, but it had the power of an A rank. All monsters capable of using magic have magic stones, but this beast oddly had 2 of them. These stones are similar to the ones used to make homunculi, and they see a scar on the beast. It looks like someone forced the stones into it and stitched the wound shut. Someone is creating monster homunculi, but using homunculi for battle is prohibited. That doesn't seem to be stopping this mystery person, and Rudd fears that this may be a scary sign of what's to come. The next day, Rudd reads that labyrinths have been popping up everywhere, and one has even appeared in Advancia. Manisha points out that Rudd must know how Nin feels about him, and wonders if he pretends not to notice because of her illness. Rudd explains that he doesn't want a relationship because it would distract him from raiding labyrinths. Manisha trusts her brother's decision, and just hopes that he doesn't stop caring about her. Later, Philly gathers everyone to take down a chameleon Kong. They are only found in regions far south of them, so they must investigate why it has appeared near their town. A labyrinth has appeared somewhere there as well, so if they spot it, they are supposed to tell her. Nin is then amazed to see the sword that the blacksmith made for Rudd. Rudd explains that it has an enchant skill. This means that different elements can be used to change the magic stone's mana in the sword and enchant the weapon. Rudd can use magic of all elements, but not well enough to be useful for attacks. However, if he channels it into the stone, he can turn his sword into a fire type. Just then, some Scarface jerk points out that Red is an F rank. This guy thinks that the amazing sword is being wasted on someone like him, but Red points out that this guy is only a C rank. The guy keeps talking crazy, so Luna gets really upset. Red calms her down though, and explains that he would rather be underestimated than overestimated. Nin points out that everyone underrates Red because he won't update his rank. He is actually strong enough for a saint like her to name him a knight, and she reveals to everyone that he actually turned down the offer. The scarred up jerk is a fan now, and wonders why Red doesn't update his rank. Red explains that if he does that, then the guild would start summoning him. Just then, the Chameleon Kong comes out of nowhere. Philly meets it immediately to stop his attack, and she even manages to push it back. Red uses Provoke to take the aggro as always, and the giant gorilla thrashes on his shield. Every attack is extremely heavy, but Red is glad that the others are managing to attack it without getting harmed. Everyone attacks with great enthusiasm, but something doesn't feel right to Red. This thing is making a lot of noise and making huge movements to get attention, almost as if it were a tank. Things soon become clear as the monster roars and more of them appear. One of them takes out a poor soldier, so Red tells everyone to stay back. They are all stunned since these are just dumb monsters, but they somehow planned a diversion. Philly begins to panic as they are surrounded, but Red reminds her that she is the leader of the soldiers. He reminds her to lead and uses his Provoke skill again. Scarface worries about his new hero since taking on all three will be too much, but Red is confident these monsters can't defeat him. Luna lands some serious damage on one, and the trio of jerks finish it off. Red knows that Chameleon Kongs are weak to fire, so he ignites his sword. The fire attack is super effective, so Philly is able to finish this one off. The last monkey unleashes a barrage of punches on our boy, so the girls use magic to trap it. Another attack slices it up, and Red lands the final blow. Everyone celebrates, but they acknowledge that they wouldn't have been able to do it without Red. Scarface calls Red a monster for not being scared of the gorillas, and apologizes for what he said earlier. Red tells this guy to go kick rocks, but he is shocked when the gorillas' bodies die, just like they do in the labyrinths. This is pretty strange, but Philly finds the entrance to a labyrinth, and our boy Red couldn't be happier. That night, everyone celebrates the appearance of the labyrinth by Avancia, since it will help revitalize their little town. Some guy tries to get slick with Manicia, but Red goes to have a little talk with him. Luna points out to Nin that Red doesn't seem too happy, and she explains that he must be worried about the labyrinth. This is because if the labyrinth's monsters aren't defeated, they sometimes leave the labyrinth like the Kongs did. Finding people to defeat the monsters is a common solution, but that comes with its own set of problems. Anyone can become an adventurer, even the worst kind of people. Bringing them to town could cause all sorts of problems. The answer to this is clans where members are held accountable for their actions. Advancia doesn't have any clans, so Red worries about what might happen to Manicia if adventurers were to come there. His concern is interrupted, however, by the very not-sober Philly. Sometime later, Red breaks up a fight, and we learn that it's been a week since the labyrinth appeared. A ton of adventurers have shown up, and Red has become quite popular after helping the townspeople with several requests. Nearby, another fight is about to break out between two A-rank adventurers. Red arrives to stop them, but they insist on defending the honor of their respective clans. Red warns them to stop, so the guys wonder which of their clans should be allowed into the town. Red explains that the town doesn't need guys like them, but some kid decides to stick up for one of them. Red stops this kid and then tells these guys to back off since she won't take it easy on them the way Red was. Red explains that their town has their own rules, and if they insist on fighting, then they will have to answer to him. The guys decide to apologize and beg Red to join their clans. Red is glad to see that they were able to calm down and points out how clan adventurers really are different from individual adventurers. Things might not be so bad, but it's clear that he won't be able to leave town for a while. Afterwards, Red goes to meet with Mr. Vild. Mr. Vild spoke with the Lord and was presented with two options. The first is for Red to create a clan and become its leader. Red thinks this is very sudden, but Mr. Vild points out that it really isn't, since people have been singing his praises for a while. Red is honored, but he explains that his only goal right now is to cure Manicia's illness. The townspeople don't want to bring in an outsider, and they insist that Red be the leader. Red wouldn't mind at all, but he is determined to cure his sister's illness. Mr. Vild then explains that the second option is to destroy Avancia's labyrinth. Red is against this since it would hurt the town's development, but the higher-ups can't allow an improperly managed labyrinth to remain open. If Red refuses to form a clan, then he must join the party currently exploring the labyrinth and destroy it. Red is given some time to decide, and he encounters another fight. These guys refuse to listen to a lone adventurer, and Red wonders if forming a clan is the only way to calm things down in the town. Just then, Luna arrives, pleading for Red to return home as there is something wrong with Monicia. Red finds that she is feeling as bad as usual, so he tells her to get some rest. Red realizes that if he forms a clan, then he won't be able to travel to visit various labyrinths. He might never find the wish-granting treasure and won't be able to cure Monicia. Red makes his decision and tells the other girls that he will destroy the labyrinth. He wants their help, but Nim points out how it will hurt the town's development. Red is sure that's what he wants to do, as he will choose Monicia over the town every time. Luna presents another option and explains that he can just choose someone to lead the clan in his place whenever he wants to travel. Red doesn't want to force that responsibility on anyone, but Luna offers to do it since it means she would be protecting the town. She wants to help Red the way he helped her, and Nin tells him to stop ignoring what he wants. Nin offers to help Luna and explains that she wants to help Red since he is always protecting her. Monicia then shows up and tells her brother that she isn't the same person that always needs to be protected. She wants him to do what he thinks is best and says that she is fine. Red can obviously tell that she is not fine and declares that he will protect Monicia and the town. Thanks for watching my recap. Sign up to my free newsletter if you want to show some support to the channel. Link is in the description.